Kamo munut ayim menu zachuba an. Gedash ki ronunuk afardumuk dahderu. Mashuyuk bumela zachuba ta. Ama daklenu zachuba an tanfunut bi tashunut hadieda. Hade tashfonut fasugnutwu. Ama zashferua anhet faref yafsegoa aksa anet. Hade dak mudnut tawu dahabi satachuch. Aze taja sahaznut kulafa anzu. Ruankum bu afardum. Bu gador hade bu bohoy ru khalud amun. Our Father, which art in heaven, holy be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us our daily bread, and forgive our trespasses, as we forgive them that trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
All I came to do is set the whole mess straight. All I came to do is set the whole mess straight. All I came to do is set the whole mess straight. All I came to do is set the whole mess straight. Lo and Eliu and Eliu El, the Most High.
Beautiful, beautiful Nefar. That was Let's Set the Record Straight by our master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z. York, or I like to say Malachi Zadok York. This is the HTM Webcast. This is Grand Minister Murhuta Herakayu. And today is November 10th. And this is webcast number 2 for the Holy Tabernacle Ministries. Wanted to follow up episode 1 by continuing to read the Family Guide. And I also want to say this about the Family Guide. The Family Guide is for everybody in the nation, not just HTM. And we should actually transfer most of this content to a book that deals with the citizenry, as they come in to the nation. But it's definitely people from HTM should teach people in the nation, your role in the family, because if you grow up in Negro and Black world, there's no teaching of how to be a man. Even in Spaniard culture, they have a quinceañera and a quinceañero, right? Celebrate. There's nothing like that for the average American. It's just sad to see when you see a lot of other cultures have some type of ceremony when they become of age to let them know this is an epochal moment in your life as a young person that now you have responsibilities. Some brothers and sisters grow up and never have responsibilities. At 60 years old, they're still talking like they 12 or 15. You know what I mean? So some people apparently never grow up. So that's a big problem for the Negro, Black, and colored community, or even those who call themselves white, which I'm not going to get into that today, but it's very important that that we do not subscribe to these sort of things, right? It's just imperative. So anyway, what we want to talk about today is Nubian family dynamics, which is going to include involvements, right? What you should be involved in your family. Talks about youth and old age, right? The Family Guide also talks about marriage and divorce. And we're going to talk about responsibility of husband and wife and children. So everybody has a role in their family, which is very important. Everybody should have a role in your family. The man is mainly the provider. The woman is also a financial provider today. Now they can choose for the man or woman to cook and clean and iron the clothes and do the yard and pick some weeds and mow the yard, fix the car, as we talked about yesterday. So your family is like, you got to kind of run it like a business, right? You got to run your family like a business. It is family business. I mean, there's an interesting show about a Black Christian family on Netflix. It's called The Greenleafs. I would highly suggest that Nubians watch this because it shows how the Black family, for a large part, is imitating a Caucasian family, an English Caucasian family, and it shows the business of Christianity. And I actually, when I watched this show, you guys, inshallah, I came up with the phrase Christian poetry. Now, I don't want to get too much off subject, but this does have to do with Black families and Christianity and big business and the Christian corporation, right? So I came up with Christian poetry. There's one episode where the main pastor, the brother, his voice is very familiar. You'll recognize him in his face. His daughter Gigi asks him when he goes into the hospital. He talks to this young Moorish couple about their son got all kind of like health problems. It's very unfortunate, and Gigi asks her father, who is the bishop, to not go in there and tell them things that aren't true to make it sound good for Christianity. Oh, the Lord gonna come out the sky and heal this boy and your life's gonna be great. I call that Christian poetry. What they're doing is they're being poetic about Christianity, right? It ain't got no truth in it, no truth. But he's quoting, he's freestyling poetry. And when I saw that scene, I'm like, you know what? This is what rappers do. They freestyle, right? They practice freestyle. These preachers practice freestyling too, but freestyle poetry dealing with religion and their religion of Christianity. You know what I mean? So it's very important that we recognize that a lot of ministers are freestyling. And that's why you ask them when a Nubian brother go up there, hey, is that in the Bible? Oh, Jesus came back to save the world. Where did Jesus say that directly himself? Now, Pastor, could you point out the verse and bless us with your words from the Bible? You know what I'm saying? Now they ain't gonna be able to do it, right? They're not gonna be able to quote that. That period point blank. They're not gonna be able to do it. So it's very important that we, if you see that spirit, test that spirit to make sure it's of God. All right. So, as your minister, I'm supposed to tell you things that deal with facts. We study factology, not theology. No, let me rephrase that. We study it all, but we practice and we're pragmatic with factology, as our master teacher has written down in these scrolls. Okay, so let's get into the main topics of what we want to let the public know, or those who are interested in HTM, right? And if you're interested in HTM, please go to holytabernacleministry.org. So let's get into involvements, right? For your family, what should you be involved in, right? Involvements. Make sure that before you involve yourself or allow your children to be involved in any organization, that you do a thorough investigation on its beliefs and policies, as well as its founders' beliefs. That means when you refer to Webster's dictionary, it would be to your advantage to know what Webster's religious beliefs, his fraternal involvements, and his political outlooks are before you use his references or definitions. You may join 1. The Boy Scouts of America and Girl Scouts of America. 2. The Cadets. Now, I'm going to pause right there. This book was written in the early 90s. The Boy Scouts of America was recently found guilty of child abuse and child molestation. Some of their cadet leaders weren't acting too appropriately, to say the least. So I would actually advise, I'm talking to the Morenos, right? I would also be talking to those who call themselves Latinos, right? Now, in the book needs to be updated to scratch out number 1. I'm just reading it as is written. So for myself, I would not let my son or daughter join the Boy Scouts of America. But at the time, from what information was out there, it was a good idea. This is like the Catholic Church, right? The Catholic Church is, well, I think we've all heard the news about molestation and inappropriate behavior that's been going on probably for a very, very, very long time. Most in the recent past and in the present, we all know what the Catholic Church is about. But you got to think about going back to the Crusades and all that. You're talking about men who cannot marry women. To suppress that, you can't suppress that. So it's an unnatural religion as far as the Holy Tabernacle Ministries is concerned. And once we study this information, you're going to find out that it's very hard to trust that this just started happening, right? So anyway, let's go to number 3. You may join number 3, drum and bugle teams. 4, cheerleaders and majorettes. 5. Any sorority or fraternity that you investigate and find are not anti-government or dangerous. 6. Military. 7. Police department. 8. Fire department. 9. Any lodges you investigate. 10. Or organizations for support and welfare of those in need. 11. Don't join any organization that is racist or any religious group or organization that teaches hate. 12. If you fight in defense of any country, let it be the United States of America or the United Nawabi Nation of Moors. Let me just throw that in there. It is all right to join a Coast Guard or a National Guard or Reserves or FBI if you feel this will improve human relations. Now, that list that you can hear me turning the pages of our book, it gives you a guideline to think about, what organizations you should join. Now, there's other organizations that this list talks about in general that if you listen to, well, we're not going to get into that. That'll be on Right Knowledge Radio. But in this webcast, we want to focus on you being cognizant of organizations as a more of organizations that you join. Even this one. Do the research on this one also. You know what I mean? Don't just trust what I'm saying or what the master teacher is saying. If you feel some type of inclination to research what I'm saying or what this organization is saying, Holy Tabernacle Ministries Fraternity, you look it up. You do the homework. We want people like that who did the homework and say, hey, I don't want to join your organization. Hey, that's fine. We hope that you find an organization that you should fit, or you hear a lot of black people, say, oh, I don't want to join any organization. I just want to do my own thing. That's cool too, man. No problem. No problem. We support you either way. Either way. But for those who do want to join, you're going to find a wealth of information that that you're not going to really find in college or any other order, right? HTM is not an order. It's a fraternity. It's an enclosure of those who want nothing but the pure facts, who cry when words of wisdom are spoken, right? It rings the heart, the vibrations of the soul so deeply that this is the place where you want to be to hear the knowledge and the facts and the wisdom and nuabu on a certain level. You know what I mean? So let's move on youth and old age, as Amanubi Rahta is telling us. Child care is very important for a healthy individual. Newborn babies shouldn't be left to sleep alone in another room or in care of anyone other than parents or family members before they are 2 years old. Children between 2 and 7 are like computers. Whatever is put in them becomes a part of them for life. At around age 7, children inherit an imagination. At this point, they start to imagine themselves, things, and persons that they admire or fear. It is important at this stage in their life that they get proper directions. Children between 7 and 14 are predominantly the kind of character they will be in life. At this period, from 14 on, is when children are taught to put away the myths and the fables and fairy tales and begin to accept the facts of life. At age 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19, children are taught to stop acting silly and clowning around. Start to take and make vivid plans for their future. Before this age, a career, whether it be academic or vocational, should have been encouraged. A child with too many responsibilities too soon inherits mental problems. A child with not enough responsibilities becomes lazy. So the work habits must be balanced. Teach them that they have to earn what they get in life. Teach them to work for what they want and not to accept handouts. Teach them hard work pays off. You should also teach them to appreciate what they have in life, value a family, and value themselves and respect their bodies. compulsive behaviors such as excessive gambling, excessive drinking, excessive team following to the point where you become a groupie, or too much music should be avoided. Overindulgence in food to the point of obesity or starving to the point of anorexia should also be avoided for both children and adults. Now, a lot of powerful things were said here, especially Americans. Americans love their team sports, as I did when I was in high school. Loved college basketball, loved college football, man. Pac-10, the Big East, SEC. I was into all that. Penn State with Kajana Carter. Man, I was into all that, man. Bought the little college scout magazines when I was a freshman playing basketball and football at in high school in Southern California. It was all about that. My life was all about that. And hip hop. It was all about that. Now I'm a totally different being. I don't really even care about that. I look at sports just as a form of exercise. I'm 42 years old. I'm an elder. So I think sports has its place, right? Competition, as long as there's healthy competition, is fine. I look at it as fine. Football is a very brutal sport. I would not let my son or daughter play football. Football is a brutal sport. I mean, it's brutal, man. It takes a certain type of personality to play football. Though I like football, I'm not a big fan anymore. I like football, but it's not something that I ponder upon. Like, oh man, the football, what time the football? If I catch it, I catch it. If I don't, even if it's the Super Bowl, I haven't seen the Super Bowl probably like in 6 years. I simply just don't care anymore. I care about community, family, how to spend money in your community. You know what I mean? As far as, helping your family, helping your people. But, too much music. There's a lot of music out there now. It's oversaturated. In my opinion, only like maybe 10% of music is actually good, especially like popular music. A lot of music has satanic messages in it now. You got rappers wearing dresses now. Some of it's okay because in ancient Egypt, we wore clothing that I don't even see. We're so Caucasoid program. I don't even know what to call it, right? So I need to educate myself on that. But the high priest wore like the apron, like the Freemasons are trying to emulate. You know what I mean? The Caucasoid order, the Freemasonry, they try to emulate us. But anyway, it says that a child from the age of 7 inherits an imagination. If you want to know more information about that, I would refer to Man from Planet Risk. But yes, a child develops an imagination, and it is vibrating on a level that that's where the imaginary friends come in. That's where, in my opinion, the child should not watch scary, demented movies at that age. I remember when I was about 6, on the block that I lived on, and I grew up I didn't grow up in the projects. So my parents my dad made it out of Compton. My mom made it out of the hood in Arizona, in the desert in the middle of nowhere. And my mom was a lot tougher than my daddy. But my dad was the breadwinner. He came, my dad was a flashy, liked to dress nice. So we moved out of LA into a city called Walnut, which is in the suburbs. And I grew up there and loved it there. Met a lot of good people, grew up in a healthy environment. The same thing I'm promoting now is to grow up in a healthy environment. You know what I'm saying? So it's very important that we get a healthy environment for us to live in. Don't listen to these rappers talking about staying in the projects forever. That's stupid. That's dumb. Plus, the projects is temporary living. You're only supposed to be there temporary. Somebody forgot to give the brothers and sisters that memo. You know what I mean? But now they're just used as pawns for the Democratic Party. So I kind of lost my thought there, y'all. Let me go back. Oh, yes, the imagination. The imagination, and watching scary movies. And my buddy from around my neighborhood, Tony. Now, this is a long time ago. It's probably like 35 years ago. I watched Predator. The first Predator movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Action Jackson was in that. And that Predator, boy, I couldn't sleep for about 4 days. I thought the Predator was gonna get me. I thought he was coming to get me. Because that's how strong the imagination is, right, when you're a child. And it kind of makes me laugh. But as a child, you have that spark of life, right? As the master teacher has told us. And that spark of life is strong. It's very strong. And if you see a negative movie like that, though, as we know as Nuwabians, that they didn't just make up the Predator. They got the idea from the Predator from ancient stories of our ancestors who seen beings come down to this planet. So what the public thinks is, oh, it's just a movie. A movie is never just a movie. There's always something to it. In Russia, do you know in Russia they call a TV director a cultural director? They don't call it TV director, they call it a cultural director, because they know those images that you're about to put on that screen is going to change people's minds. It's going to be in people's minds. It's going to change them, maybe on a very micro or macro level, but it's going to change them, right? In America, it's just TV. Controlling the weather from HARP, that's just TV. Until you do some research and find out, there's really a HARP radar. It really exists. So very important not to shut your mind off like a child. A child soaks in everything. As an adult, you shouldn't be so programmed within the schools with compulsory education on whatever level, from elementary to college. You should always ask questions and challenge, right? And practice right knowledge, right? Because I actually did a video cast on YouTube on Right Knowledge Radio about someone from the Moorish Science Temple saying that, and it's the U.N.N.M channel. Now, the U.N.N.M brothers, I got no problems with them. But another brother named Taharka Bey said that's not even the real temple. And there's a whole bunch. Anyway, let's not get into that. But I just want to put that out there right. So things, I'm kind of losing my thought, but I'm going to get back on track here. When we talk about movies and imagination and what your children should be watching around the age of 7, take into consideration that those images can haunt you. Like Freddy Krueger is another one. Poltergeist in the 80s. And, that's when I'm an 80s baby. So that's when I grew up. And I remember, now Poltergeist, I never really watched Poltergeist. It just freaked me out too much when I was a kid. So I didn't even attempt to watch it. I did watch Freddy Krueger and I did watch Friday the 13th, in my teen years. When I could handle it, you know what I mean? But Predator, my dad was like, boy, you better get out of our bed. I tried to climb in the bed. My mom let me stay, but my dad was like, man, you need to go back to your room. But man, I'm telling you that the Predator had me. He had me, he had me. So Keep that in mind, man. Keep that in mind, everyone. That that watch what your kids, especially with the internet now. I mean, they could watch horrible things now on the internet. Like these people call themselves Islamic or Muslims when they're really not, and they're chopping off people's heads and stuff, man, and blowing themselves up. That's blowing yourself up is a sin in Islam. So what type of religion are they practicing? It has to do something with shaitan. But anyway, let's keep going. So that was youth and old age. Now we're going to move into marriage and divorce. So this is what a great teacher taught of marriage. You were both together, and together you shall be forevermore. You shall be together when the wings of death scatter your days. You shall be together even in the silent memory of the source. But let there be space in your togetherness, and let the winds of the skies dance between you. Love one another, but make not a bond of love. Let it rather be a moving sea between the shores of your souls. Fill each other's cups, but drink not from one cup. Give one another of your bread, but eat not from the same loaf. Sing and dance together and be joyous, but let each one of you be alone, even as the strings of a guitar are alone, though they quiver with the same music. Give your hearts, but not into each other's keeping, for only the hand of life can contain your hearts. And stand together, yet not too near together, for the pillars of the temple stand apart, and the oak tree and the pine grow not into each other's shadow. Blind love is for those who are blind and don't wish to see the faults of their partner. I don't suggest an abrupt divorce unless there is a threat of danger, a lack of provisions for the family, or disloyalty. So if you choose a mate, it is best to investigate his or her family, their health background, their mental stability, and their genetic involvements. Be extremely careful in these days and times, for great deadly diseases plague the human body. Don't be a victim of your lust to your death. We don't participate in polygamy. Let me say that one more time. We don't participate in polygamy. That is a Muslim thing and doesn't work. It is very unfair to females and children. We don't accept it. The belongings of the husband and wife are stipulated within the marriage contract of the United Nawabi Nation of Moors or the Holy Tabernacle Ministries. Now, let me stop there. All marriages are conducted through the Holy Tabernacle Ministries, which are recognized by the United Nawabi Nation of Moors. Move on. All Nawabian weddings are to be performed by an ordained minister of the Holy Tabernacle Ministries, who will also sign the marriage contract after the wedding ceremony is complete alongside the new husband and wife. Right? Now, if you've been involved in the nation within, I'd say, the past 10 years, then you know there was a gentleman sitting on the seat named Asaru, right? That's how I got in the nation. The HTM was not running at that time. So this is, we're talking about the nation. And I met the brother, what I'm saying? He showed me some things I did not know about the nation because I was just joining. And I went to his house in Temple, Georgia, met his wife at the time and his children, his daughters, and showed me a lot of books, showed me a lot of things I had to take care of myself. It was all good information, but there were demons lurking in his background that I didn't know about that came out like 3 years later. And I'm not going to go over the whole timeline here. He's been ousted. However, I bring this up because the brother was trying to practice polygamy. He was trying to practice polygamy. Now, as far as the nation goes, it's your choice to practice polygamy or not. You know, I forgot what audio this was, but the master teacher says if a man can practice polygamy and have multiple wives, then the wife can have multiple men. It's only fair, right? So if that's the way, but there must be some type of stipulation written and agreed to between the man and woman. It must be agreed to, right? Polygamy is not illegal. We just don't accept it like that coming out of the Muslim school. And the Quran says you can have up to 4 wives. It doesn't say to have 4 wives, right? So you can have one and be fine, right? You know, have one and be cool. As a Muslim, that's fine too. But you see a lot of brothers try to have multiple wives. You know, financially they can't support them. They broke. That's illegal in the Quran, because in the Quran it says you got to be able to support. You have to have financial means to support multiple women. You know, multiple wives. So so even in the Quran, there's stipulations on having 4 wives. But remember, the max is 4. You don't have to have 4. And so this brother Saru, right, was trying to have another wife. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of this out of respect for his wife and children, not him, because he disrespected a lot of people by taking money and spending it even on his own family. You know what I'm saying? Like, if that's not why people gave you that money, to build the nation up. And so we've corrected that mistake as a nation. However, he did try to practice polygamy, and it backfired on him. He got a divorce because of it and lost his children. So he didn't do it the right way, obviously. So though we do not advocate for polygamy, I'm just reading the words of the founder of the HTM, what he said. Then that's our master teacher. So we're just gonna roll with that, right? We're gonna roll with what he said, what the God said. You know what I mean? And we're not gonna roll with however these Negroes feel out here, because they want to be big in front of their women. You know, we not doing that. We follow Allah, Anu, and that's it. And we follow our master teacher and other spiritual masters that have come down. All right, so the next section here, let's move along, is responsibilities of the husband to his wife and children, right? Firstly, we all make mistakes, and we could have made mistakes in the mate that we chose. For the children's sake, if any, don't stay in a bad relationship. It can affect their lives. If a man is not a provider, which is the most important aspect of a man, move on with your life before it's too late. If a woman doesn't do her part as a female, move on. You meet at parties are just that. Okay, you meet at these parties and they are just that. They're party people. You don't go into a nightclub to find a wife or husband. You'll find a nightclub guy or girl. Very true. Very true. Very true. Actually, that was one of my rules growing up when I was partying in LA, Vegas, Orange County. I'm not taking one of these girls home to be my wife, right? That wasn't the point. And I'm definitely not trying to have a baby with them, and I'm definitely not trying to get married. That's not gonna happen, right? Now I did make a mistake and had a baby with one, but luckily it was only one, because I was really out there, y'all. I was partying, you know. I was really out there. I never joined a gang and never was a thug or anything like that. Knew plenty of them. I partied with them, but Never really got into the gang stuff. It turned me off. I really didn't like it. Um, and but the females, I was all about. I was a ladies' man. I was a player. So, but anyway, yes, do not go partying trying to find a wife. That's only Americans do stuff like that. Only Americans do stuff like that. So again, let's not do that. You know what I mean? So number one, the male's responsibility is to choose a healthy and intelligent wife whom he can love and cherish for the length of their lives and further. Remember, beauty is truly only skin deep. So stop marrying women just because they're cute. these dudes, especially men who are financial means, they just be taking care of these women because they cute. I'm like, oh, why do you think women get breast jobs, booty jobs, stomach surgery? They want a rich man to take care of them, and they're willing to do anything to accomplish that goal. So there's no way I would probably just like not even take a girl serious if I found out she just got a whole bunch of surgery on her body just for me to look at her. I'm like, I get women all about their beauty, but that's taking it a little too far. Come on, sister, you taking it a little bit too far. Okay, number two. His responsibility is to provide an above poverty-stricken environment by working hard to see that his family has nothing but the best. 3. His responsibility is to acquire a good academic or vocational education. 4. His responsibility is to utilize his talents to support his family. 5. His responsibility is to know how to repair and fix things around the house. 6. His responsibility is to know how to drive everything on wheels. 7. His responsibility is to protect and guard his family at all times. 8. His responsibility is to be well informed in order to keep his family abreast of current events that affect their lives. 9. His responsibility is to know survival tactics, what to do in case of emergencies in order to protect his family. 10. His responsibility is to know how to take care of a house, to cook and provide for the children in the event that his wife becomes ill or dies. God forbid, inshallah. 11. His responsibility is setting an example and being a role model for his children. 12. His responsibility is to be loyal to his wife and discipline himself in order to keep a respectful relationship. 13. His responsibility is to maintain honesty and integrity. 14. His responsibility is to not endanger his family by violating the laws of the country or the city and state in which they live. 15. His responsibility is to control his emotions and to be strong under pressure and always keep his promises. 16. His responsibility is to be a father example for his daughters. 18. Oh, there's a number missing here. Actually, 17. His responsibility is to be a husband for his wife. Okay, 18. Sorry if I'm missing. There's a number missing here, so if I'm repeating the number twice, forgive me. So 18. His responsibility is to set an overall good example for his family, as well as being an upright and noble member in the family, in the Holy Tabernacle Ministries, and the United Nawabi Nation of Moors. Right? So there's some things there that is very important for a man to do. That when I moved, me and my wife moved from Las Vegas to the land now of Nawabida. I had to learn a lot of things. I had to learn how to haul water, get a trailer, a hitch lock. I mean, there's a lot of things I had to learn. I had to learn about electricity. That's how I'm able to record this show right now. We are off the grid. We got solar panels and a wind turbine with a charge controller, batteries, all that. You know what I mean? And I had to learn from the locals here in town. You know what I mean? I had to get an air compressor for our tires. I mean, sheds to put extra, belongings in. Directing a project, building our house. You know what I mean? We got a forklift here. We got a big 2,500 gallon water tank. I mean, we got a bunch of stuff here that needs to be taken care of and fixed. You know what I mean? I fix as much as possible. We got a Polaris. We got a quad, for watering plants, and we got a farm. We're building a farm here. Me and my wife. We got brothers that are moving down to the land who joined the nation. We don't have any yet, but they're going to be coming in December. So we got to get prepared for that, right? So we have to learn how to live of, for, and by each other, which means we got to have shelter, water, clothes, food. We got chickens here that lay eggs. You know what I mean? So we got to learn to live off the land. Now, we still go to Walmart and stuff like that too, but things aren't as convenient as they are in the city. So we had to adjust our minds to adapt to where we live. There's some consequences and benefits to how we live. The benefits much outweigh the consequences, but they are there. All right. So, and loyalty to his wife, being disrespectful, keeping a respectful relationship. Now, I've been guilty of doing that in the past and in the recent past with my wife, and I'm working on that. I don't want to use foul language, but sometimes it happens when we get angry, and I pray and I meditate about that, and I'm getting better at it. So I'm definitely not perfect in that aspect. Now let's read the responsibilities of the wife to her husband and children. All right. Number 1, the family's responsibility is to choose a healthy and intelligent husband. Remember, beauty, muscles, and handsomeness fade in time. Excuse me. Her responsibility is to choose a husband that she can love and cherish for the length of their lives and further. 2, her responsibility is to provide a strong, supporting environment, an immaculate house, and above poverty-stricken environment by working hard to see that her family has nothing but the best. 3, her responsibility is to acquire a good academic and domestic education, an academic education in order to help the family business or even spearhead it in the event of her husband's illness, in order to have the ability to perform his job as a man. She should also be domestic and should be able to A, know how to cook very well, B, know how to sew in order to make clothes for her family, C, know how to clean and maintain her house, D, know how to operate all household machinery, E, know herbology and natural cures, F, know CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation, and Heimlich maneuver, as well as have a little medical knowledge. G, know how to type and utilize a computer. 4, her responsibility is to utilize her talents to support her family. 5, her responsibility is to know how to do hair as well as nails, physical grooming for herself as well as her family. She should also know how to cut hair and fix small things around the house. 6, her responsibility is to know how to drive. 7, her responsibility is to protect her family at all times. 8, her responsibility is to be well informed in order to keep her family abreast of current events that affect their lives. 9, her responsibility is to know survival tactics, know what to do in case of emergencies in order to protect her family. 10, her responsibility is to keep abreast of all community events, as well as their families and okay. The the text is a little smeared. Conditions to make sure that appropriate cards of respect and concern are up to date. Cards, I think, meaning ID, right? 11, her responsibility is to set an example and be a role model for her children. 12, her responsibility is to be loyal to her husband and discipline herself in order to keep a respectful relationship. 13, her responsibility is to maintain honesty and integrity. 14, her responsibility is not to endanger the family by violating the laws of the country or city and state in which they live. 15, Her responsibility is to control her emotions and to be strong under pressure and always keep her promises. 16. Her responsibility is to be a mother example for her sons. 17. Her responsibility is to be a mother for her daughters. 18. Her responsibility is to be a wife for her husband. 19. Her responsibility is to set an overall good example for her family, as well as be an upright and noble member in the family in the United Nawabi Nation of Moors. Okay, now that's the last topic we're going to talk about in episode 2 here, dealing with family dynamics in the United Nawabi Nation of Moors. Always keep a respectful tongue in mind when speaking to your husband or wife. That is something that's extremely important. Inshallah, right? We should always provide for our family. We're not to really be on welfare and stuff like that as Nuwabians. If you are, you need to fix that. You need to work for yourself, or at least work for another Nuwabian or another Moor. At least his race is a Moor. Work for yourself in kind. Stop working for them. You know what I mean? So I think we'll end the show here. I went on a little longer than I planned, but I had more to say than what I planned. So I do improv or additional comments to things that I trust and I know that need to be said, right? So again, visit www.holytabernacleministry.org or dial area code 928, if I can talk, 985-7564 for more information on joining the Holy Tabernacle Ministries and studying all the spiritual scriptures. Not all, but the major religions, the public religions, I will say. So I'll leave it at that. Everybody have a beautiful day. Far Tashu and Wadu. Peace and love.